Lines up in a body bag. Take your chances. Now it's time to show you we're wrong. In the ring, this is for all you sucks not strong. Day in, day out, the wolf pack for life. Tell my boys the guts to come.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Ultimate Nonsense. My name is David, and today I'm here to do another list for WWE, or well, just wrestling in general. So I did my picks for the worst looking belts of all time. Again, my personal choices. Some of you guys probably like some of the belts I hated. And some of you might hate the belts that I actually like, which is what the list is today, which is my picks for the best looking wrestling belts. And again, not just WWE, but WWE, WCW, NWA, TNA, New Japan, Lucha Underground, all Ring of Honor, all those belts. My number 5 best looking belt is actually a relatively new belt that I have been introduced to, and that is actually the New Japan. That's New Japan Wrestling's United States Championship. Now I know in the last video about the worst belts, I basically bashed the Universal title for being so red, and just I don't know, I hated it. But this one, I mean, it's a red belt, but it's like a darker red. It goes good with the American flag look in the center of the title. It's big, it's gold. It just looks cool. It looks like a very prestigious title that you would want to have. Whereas the Universal title just looks kind of like, it just looks like the WWE title, just red. Whereas this one, once again, it looks prestigious. It's something you would want to hold, and you hold with pride. Right now the current champ is Kenny Omega, who's probably the biggest, best wrestler in all of the world. And I'm not gonna lie, I do think it's a better United States Championship than WWE's, even though WWE's I don't hate. I actually think it's pretty cool as well, but this one just supersedes it by far. So my number 4 best wrestling belt of all time. I know a couple of my boys, they're probably going to be shocked that I don't have this number 1 because it's always been one of my favorites. But number 4 is actually the WWE Attitude Era belt. That belt was just, I look at it and it's still like, wow. It was the perfect evolution from the Winged Eagle belt to this one. Just that transition, and kind of how the company transitioned from the early mid-90s to basically what would become the Attitude Era. Just that small transition, and the belt just went perfectly along with it. This thing debuted back in I believe it was 98 when Stone Cold won the belt at WrestleMania from Shawn Michaels. This is the design they came out with. Loved it. I even loved when the strap was actually blue. It was like a dark blue. I loved that version. I loved just the regular version. Some of the greatest wrestlers in the history of the business have held this belt. Stone Cold, The Rock, Mankind, Triple H, Undertaker, Kurt Angle. I mean, it's one of the best looking belts I've ever seen, and it'll always be one of my favorites. So my number 3 best looking belt of all time is actually the current WWE Intercontinental title. I love this belt. Again, I had a hard time not making this number 1. The design is just gorgeous. Sorry, I'm actually looking at it right now. The design is gorgeous. The white, just the gold on the white just pops. It's the current WWE Intercontinental title, but the fact that it's a throwback title to the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, just that nostalgia feel to it. It just feels prestigious. And don't get me wrong, the Intercontinental title that evolved from this one, like the Attitude Era, early 2000s, all the way up until couple years ago, really. That design, the oval, I loved it as well. I thought it was a great looking belt, but this style just is wow. Well, Legends have held this belt, and in particular, the style of the belt. You know, Ultimate Warrior, Rick Rude, Mr. Perfect, just countless individuals. I mean, God, Macho Man held it. And I know Shawn Michaels held it, Razor. I could go on and on. And I know, like, the belt itself, the black strap looked great. Ultimate Warrior, I know, had a yellow strap at one time. That looked great, but it's just that white, that clean white, just, ooh, it's just such a gorgeous looking belt. My God, I would never ever change this. God, please, WWE, please do not change this belt, because this is by far the best looking belt currently in the WWE. All right, so my number 2 favorite belt of all time is actually the NWA/WCW/World Heavyweight Big Gold Belt. This belt's got such a great history. Again, starting off in the NWA as the World Heavyweight Championship, Legends have held this belt as well in that company. Most notably, Ric Flair. Honestly, whenever I see this belt, I kind of associate it with Ric Flair. So this belt, and then it became the WCW belt, and then once again, greats held it, like Hogan with his NWO run, he held it. Sting held this belt. Macho Man held this belt. I mean, countless individuals have held this belt, and a lot of people actually would say that this is the greatest, in their own opinion, this is the greatest wrestling belt of all time. And it's hard not to see why. I mean, it's just, again, it's gorgeous to look at. Unfortunately, I think that the prestige of it kind of went down when they started giving, it seemed like they were just giving this belt away towards the end of its run. A lot of guys were holding this belt who didn't deserve to hold this belt, I think. In particular, Jack Swagger held it. He never struck me as a great champion, but Jack Swagger held it. Great Khali held it. Mark Henry held it. For God's sakes, Vince Russo even held it. And remember, this is the belt that David Arquette held as well. So I mean, going through all that trashy period of where just guys who were holding it were just not worthy for it, it managed to survive, and it still is one of the greatest looking championship belts of all time. All right, so my number 1 favorite wrestling belt of all time is actually the WWE's Winged Eagle belt. Again, this also might be a lot of people's favorite belts of all time. It's certainly my favorite. When I look at this belt, I mean, it's not the biggest, it's not the prettiest, it's not the flashiest, but whenever I see this belt, it's just that it symbolizes excellence and perfection and greatness. It made its debut in I believe it was 1989. It made its debut, or it could have been 88. I mean, this belt was so great. I mean, it's one of the longest belts around, longest belt designs around for WWE, minus, I believe, the spinning belt. I mean, God, it's just Hogan, Macho Man, Hart, Yokozuna, Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Diesel. I mean, just a who's who, Ric Flair, a who's who of who have held this belt. Again, it's like, and then simple things may have been changed here or there to for certain wrestlers. Like I know the Ultimate Warrior had, I think he had a purple one at one time, or a purple strap, a blue strap. a yellow one, I believe. So it's like it was a custom title for someone, but they never changed the overall design because it was that good. This is the most perfect belt ever created, in my opinion. So if you guys feel differently, let me know in the comments below. If you guys like this video, give me a thumbs up. Click and subscribe to check out other future stuff that we're gonna be doing.